Hello and welcome to another night of some astrophotography. It's been a little while because I've been doing some work on the old scope, adding this focus motor, and finally finishing up the astro modification to my T4i, which I have finally got done, and it's working great. Well, I think. But tonight I am hoping to try out a little new thing that I got a few months ago but haven't been able to use until I got this thing modified. The SkyTech Quadband narrowband filter, which I am going to try tonight on the Veil Nebula, which I thought would be a good target for that. Now, I believe that it's under 70% moon tonight, so it should be a good test of this filter. The moon will be coming up a bit later, I think around midnight, but that still leaves a good 4 to 5 hours that I'll be shooting with the moon. So it'll be interesting to see how it handles that. I know that a quad narrowband filter like this won't completely get rid of moon interference, but I am hoping it should minimize it to a large extent, and I'll be able to shoot during those times of the month when there is moonlight, which I haven't been thus far, unless it's something like a globular cluster or something really bright. Now, on top of that, I have the Pegasus Astro focus box, whatever they call it. I'm really bad with remembering product names. It's a focus motor that I made sure to get before the winter when I plan on setting all my stuff up inside an ice fishing tent, because it gets quite cold in the winter and I want to be able to take advantage of those long winter nights this winter, unlike last winter. Now tonight, Washington State is currently on fire, so a lot of that smoke is blowing up here. Now thankfully it is staying pretty close to the ground, so I'm hoping I won't be shooting through a ton of it, but looking around me definitely can see that there's a lot of smoke in the air. But I'm shooting tonight regardless, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I was looking at the satellite imagery before I left, and man, it looks like the entire west coast of, actually it's not Washington, I don't think it was Washington State, I think it was actually more in Oregon. So I suppose I've got bits of Oregon falling on me right now. Actually, it'd be interesting to see how much ash actually accumulates on things throughout the night. Hopefully not much. And hopefully not, oh nuts, because shooting Veil, that means my scope's going to be pointed pretty much straight up for most of the night. I hope that my mirror isn't covered in ash when this night is through. Anyways, I've got a few new things I'm trying out tonight. For one, from, I always forget, the lazy astronomer, what's his name again? The YouTuber. I watched a video of his about the trick of balancing using one of these guys, these touchless amperage meters. I do have a proper multimeter at home, but I didn't have this thing. So I'm hoping to try that out tonight. Basically what the idea is, if you don't know, is you take the power cable for the HEQ5. First of all, you have to split it, because if you have both the positive and negative going through this thing, it'll just cancel each other out. So you got to make sure to be able to isolate the positive and the negative. I don't think it matters which side you actually do it on, but what you can do is you can put that around there, put the scope to the side, and then try the motor one way and the other, and what you'd want to do is make sure that you're getting the same number or the same amperage either way in both the declination and the right ascension, and then you know you have a good balance. So I am hoping that does some good for my guiding tonight. Anyways, I think I'm going to try that out now. Okay, now I've got my mount in the sort of pointed to the, unfortunately you can't, well you can sort of see it. It is currently, actually I should level out the declination. That should suffice. Now, basically what we do is we're going to put this onto the amp meter. And we're going to grab this cable, pop this around here. This is going to be a bit tricky, but let's try going west. Okay, so this is saying 0.4 going, or 0.5 this way. This way. We're getting 0.4. So which way is that again? I'm trying to go up that way. So that means, oh, let's just fiddle with this and see what happens. East, 0.5. West, yeah, I think that's actually pretty balanced. Okay, now to do the declination. It'll be interesting to see if this has any significant effect on my guiding. I find it's a little bit hard to get a reading because it fluctuates quite a bit between, say, point or sort of 4 or sometimes 5. So you sort of just have to see where it lands the most. Oh, hello there. Can't believe I just did that. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit concerned about tonight. It seems like the smoke coming from the US is beginning to get thicker. I haven't looked at the satellite image since I left home, but it may just be the fact that it's getting darker and the sun's currently shining through the smoke as it sets. Well, the sun set like half an hour ago. And that might just be making it seem like it's getting smokier. Most of it seems to be oriented more towards the east, towards Vancouver, which is about 60 kilometers away from here. So let's hope that I can get good data tonight. What wavelengths would soot be most likely to reflect? What, in the comments below, what wavelengths of light would soot be most likely to reflect? Holy crap, that bird was nuts. It just flew right behind the frickin' camera. We'll see how the autofocus works on that. Hopefully it'll work without me having to do a bunch of troubleshooting. Yeah, I don't know why I even think that might be a possibility in this hobby. Oh yeah, about the SkyTech Quadband narrowband filter. I primarily got it because so far I've just been shooting broadband without filters, so generally I have avoided going out on moonlit nights, but that's a lot of the year, and with weather the way it is up here, you can't exactly be picky. So I wanted to get something that would allow me to shoot on these moonlit nights, and I know that going with the Quadband might not necessarily have been the best idea for moonlight, but I think it should do hopefully it'll do a good enough job that I can expand the times that I go out. Even if it's still a bit iffy around 100%, 90%, if I could go out when the moon's at 70 or 80% or lower, that would be a huge increase to the amount of nights a year I could get out here. So we'll see how that filter operates tonight. I'm planning on doing 5 minutes, 300-second exposures at 800 ISO, because generally they recommend you do a slightly longer exposures than you normally would with narrowband, and I normally do 180-second exposures. Sometimes I'll do the full 300 seconds in broadband, but for the narrowband tonight, I'll try with the 300-second exposures and see how that goes. Alrighty, well, I've gotten polar aligned. I have done other stuff that I can't quite think of off the top of my head because I'm bad at actually remembering what to say in front of the camera. The balancing seemed to work pretty well, although my guiding has still been problematic. I just did a calibration and the guiding was, well, crap. I've been having this problem for a little while. It's rather strange because I didn't have problems with guiding as much before. Like I used to have it slightly above 1 degree in right ascension, but always below 1 degree in the declination. But now I'm getting like 1.60 in declination and 1.30 in right ascension. I decided to try calibrating it again to see if that helped, using a different star, a smaller star. So let's hope that that does its thing. It's calibrating at the moment. You know, one thing I'm noticing in the guiding is, I don't know if you can hear this sound, one sec, is I keep hearing this little sort of, I'm not sure how to describe it. It's like a jump in the gearing. Let's see if I can. Of course, it's not going to do it now. There. I don't know if you heard that, but it did a little bit of made a little noise. And it seemed to go kind of crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's a gear. Maybe I need to do some adjustment to the gear. So after playing around with the new focus motor and some autofocus troubleshooting that I didn't quite get sorted out, I started my exposures on NGC 6229 or the Veil Nebula. East? West? I forget which. I think it's east. What? Let's just say my first impressions of this SkyTech Quadband filter and the infrared IR cut filter removal from my camera is quite good. That's freaking amazing. That's a single 300-second sub. Sure can't wait to see this stacked. Yeah, so tonight has been going very well. My autofocus graph is wonky, but it is going to need some finesse in the settings. However, it still worked very well regardless. It just took forever to complete. My first impressions for the SkyTech Quadband filter, absolutely phenomenal. I'm really amazed with the results of this thing. And the moon just came up about 15-20 minutes ago, so it'll be interesting to see how the star count graph changes as it gets brighter with the moon, to see how much of an effect that actually has on it. Otherwise, the guiding despite my guiding looking absolutely horrendous at first, it's actually been going pretty nicely. Well, I mean, as far for my, relatively speaking, as far as guiding goes, for my guiding historically, man, that was a ring of words that didn't make much sense. Beautiful nebula, that's for sure. Something quite majestic about it. Like the thin filaments. It reminds you of it sort of reminds me of, you know, how when you put cream in a cup of coffee in a clear glass and you see it, and you don't stir it. You just sort of watch it disperse in the coffee, and it reminds me of that, sort of. Hello and welcome to another night. I decided to, since we were supposed to have clear weather, I'll get into that in a minute, I decided I would go out and try doing the Wizard Nebula because I saw Trevor over at Astro Backyard do it, and I thought that'd be a good one to try out this Quadband filter on 2, I am so happy with how the Veil Nebula turned out, NGC 6992. Oh, it's awesome knowing NGC numbers by heart. Watch, I got that wrong. Now, there is a bit of a problem. One, Washington and Oregon are on fire. 2, this morning a massive fire broke out very close to my house, and it's still smoldering and getting smoke everywhere. I'm not sure tonight's going to be a success because it's really smoky. It seems like the smoke from the US has made it over the closed border and has come to ruin my astrophotography session. But I'll just hope for the best. Maybe it'll clear up a bit. It does seem to be getting worse. Thankfully it's not terrible straight overhead, and Wizard will be quite high in the sky, but we'll see. So the first few nights, last night was the first night of year where see Orion peeking above the horizon again towards the early morning. And I always like to play this little game that where I will watch Beetlejuice and go, explode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then inevitably it doesn't explode. But wouldn't it be so awesome if one day, even though it's extremely unlikely because it's actually not supposed to explode for like another 100,000 million years or something. Not 100,000 million, I meant 100,000 to a million years. But yeah, it would be really cool. Just now. Anyways, it's been a pretty chill night. I haven't been doing a lot of filming on the camera, just relaxing, reading a book. So yeah, I'm getting pretty close to the end of the night. My battery is running a bit low. Sadly, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the 60 subs I was hoping. I'm hoping I can at least get 50, but I'm even doubtful of that. Hopefully at least close to 50, because there's I believe 4 or 5 subs that aren't going to be usable because the focus kind of got wonky when I wasn't paying attention. So let's go head back home and I'll give my final impressions on this SkyTech quad narrowband filter. So in conclusion, I was very happy with this SkyTech Quadband filter. Really opens up those moonlit nights to being able to go out, because can't really be picky about the weather around here or the conditions, because weather is often not very good. Things I was quite happy about. Well, first one, the only con that I can think of is, and it's more my fault in my choosing, with a quad-band filter, it doesn't quite get out all of that moonlight, especially in the full moon, but it does do a pretty good job, and I find even processing images that were done with the significant percentage moon out, the end product ended up being quite nice. On to the good stuff. I found the contrast in detail in certain things, especially in my image of the Wizard Nebula, were very good. Not quite a different kind of look than with my usual broadband work. I was very, very happy with how the Veil Nebula turned out. The stars had a little bit of a purplish tinge to them, but and I know a lot of people might correct that kind of thing, but I sort of like embracing the different kind of wavelengths you see with different sorts of filters. So, for example, with narrowband, particularly the Hubble palette, if I had a mono camera with narrowband filters, I probably would keep in the purpley stars, because, you know, I think it
kind of clues people in that it's not a true color image, because something that they're familiar with, because not everyone's familiar with how all nebulae look like, so some narrowband images can be confusing, but everyone knows what stars look like, so if the stars are a slightly different color, they sort of know it's a narrowband image. So that's kind of my philosophy when using narrowband imagery. However, with this quadband filter, the images do very much look like a broadband image would. It's not very different, so that is a plus if you are wanting to do imaging in moonlight or even in city conditions, which I'm not. It's Bortle class 4 around here. It's, I think, a pretty good choice. Or if you really have to deal with light pollution, I might recommend the tri-band filter instead. But for my purposes, in a rural area wanting to shoot in moonlight, this SkyTech filter has been quite good. Bit pricey, but good. I mean, all narrowband filters are pricey. It's kind of the fact of life, especially with these specialized multi-narrowband filters. But I'm really happy with this.